Boom. Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news this Sunday morning as Erik ten Hag's plans are paralysed by the Glazers. His frustration at their greed to, effectively wring out every last pound they can from Sir Jim or Qatar at the expense of his summer plans is really grinding his gears. This is coming in from somebody very close to Ten Hag. We'll talk about that headline straight away. But also we'll be talking about what Southgate thinks about Harry Kane coming to Manchester United and how he could be the next Sheringham. Also a potential Italian job for Harry Maguire as Italian clubs line up to take him from Manchester United. We'll also have the latest on Mason Mount. Also, Ahmad could be going back to Sunderland. And Wayne Rooney's very interesting formation and plan to beat Manchester City next week. We'll talk about all of those things on the Sunday morning show, so get ready. Punj, welcome to the Members Club. You're a legend. And don't forget, this afternoon, it's final day. So we will be live for the watch-along for that as well. So it's a big day ahead. Yes, Dylan says they're lining up for Maguire. That must be the emptiest queue ever. Right, well, we'll talk about that in a moment, but let's fly straight into this. This is coming from the Mirror. It's coming from Simon Mullock, who is the chief football writer. Now, look, you follow themes, you follow trends. We know over the last 12 months, for whatever reason, the Mirror have got good connections to Ten Hag. It's just happened. Ever since Ten Hag's come into the club, the Mirror have had good connections to Ten Hag, and you either know that or you don't. And what they're saying is that Erik ten Hag's transfer plans are still paralysed as Manchester United takeover saga threatens the summer. Obviously, the Glazer family remain in charge, but Erik ten Hag is still being kept in the dark about the future ownership of the club, and that's paralysed the plans to continue rebuilding Old Trafford despite hitting a £100 million jackpot by qualifying for the Champions League, which we spoke about yesterday. Sources close to Ten Hag have confirmed that he's been given little information about whether the Glazer family intend to follow through on an opportunity to even sell United, or whether they intend to take a third option of bringing in outside investment to finance a stadium build. The sale process is now starting to have a negative impact on Ten Hag and his hopes of making the signings that will help his team challenge for the Premier League title and the Champions League. Ten Hag works closely with Director of Football John Murtough, but the Glazers are resolved to squeezing every single penny out of a potential sale after demanding $6 billion. And this is the process is now into its 6th month, and the longer it continues without being resolved, the more Ten Hag's transfer plans are likely to be affected. Earlier this month, Ten Hag was asked whether he'd been told about his budget for the summer, to which he said, "I don't have an influence on that. The only thing I know is that Man United is one of the biggest clubs in the world, one of the biggest 2 or 3 from a fan base perspective. The club has to compete for the highest honours, the Champions League, the Premier League. But in football, you need funds to construct squads because the level of your player decides if you're successful or not. Everyone knows you need funds to construct a squad, and a high-level players, you need a lot of money." So, look, you know what? I mean, that I don't dispute that there is a frustration. I don't dispute that the handbrake is on. I don't dispute that, in some ways our summer plans are paralysed. But I will say this. We will still spend in excess of £200 million. As I said yesterday on yesterday's afternoon show, we will. Whatever the scenario is, we will do it. But, like with many things in football, there are layers to this game. And Man United spent over £200 million. Well, let me put it like this. Did Erik ten Hag spend over £200 million last year? Well, no. No, he didn't. Because we messed around for 2 months, messing around on De Jong, not having everything else ready, and then we had to rush around from the start of July to the end of August. So we will spend over £200 million. Whether we spend it like last year, I think that's what this article is about. Erik ten Hag and his frustration and his plans being paralysed. Some people will run away with that and say, we're not going to spend any money. We're not going to spend any money. We will spend over £200 million. I'll guarantee you that. Get the calculators out. But what I and you and Ten Hag and everybody else is scared of is, when will we spend that money? Are we going to repeat last year and wait until July to start doing business? Or are we going to do it from now, which is what Ten Hag wants to do? And I think the problem that he's got is, and I think that Imran's right, just remember who's in charge with the transfers. I think the problem that he's got is, you've got someone like Mason Mount who wants to come to Manchester United. You've got Erik ten Hag who's put the work in to get Mason Mount to want to come to Manchester United. And then you've got the point where you need to negotiate with Chelsea. And then you've got the Glazers going, well, we're doing sales at the moment. We're sorting the sale out. We're not negotiating about transfers. And that becomes the problem. It doesn't mean you don't get Mason Mount. I mean, it does damage it. But the club is so focused on the sale, Ten Hag can't get going with the transfers. And that is what this article is all about. And that is true. And that is frustrating. And that is paralysis for his plans. Handbrake football, whatever you want to talk about it, lockdown. All these words are true. The budget will be there. Whoever's in charge, we will spend over 200 million. But I can see a scenario, and I think Ten Hag is worried about it, where you're overspending in July and August because you're desperate. We overspent on Anthony. We overspent on Martinez because we didn't get the deals done at the start of June. So, look, I think that's what that article's about in its entirety. And it absolutely nails the brief that this is happening. And we should never forget that this is happening because, you know, Erik Ten Hag has completed the what was asked of him. You know, it's not just qualifying for the Champions League. It's not just winning a trophy, hopefully two. It's it's revitalising people like Marcus Rashford. It's dealing with the Cristiano Ronaldo issue. He has delivered on every challenge that was set him and beyond, and he should be rewarded. And in fact, he's actually being punished. He's being punished. He's sat there going, right, I'm an obsessive. I want to go again. Let's get these players in. I want this one, this one, this one. They're ready to come. And, you know, he's got dithering people with the money. He's sort of like positioned himself at the front of the checkout. We're ready to go. Let's do it. There's a list. There's a queue behind us. We're first. I've got everything I want. Let's go. Get the card out. And then the person with the card is going, no, let those people go first because we're sorting something else out. This ain't the time, and I think that's the frustration with Ten Hag. We will have the money, they just won't spend it at the moment because they're locked in on this sale. Why they're locked in on this sale? Because they do not and have not and will not ever have the best interests of Manchester United at heart. And this is why I and many other people want the Glazers out in a full sale. Because whilst they're in this club with 20% or whatever, they're still what they are. We've just had a really good season that you have to go and build upon. And we can't build on it because they're still trying to figure out whether they can eke out another $500 million from somebody. They don't care about what the club's doing. They care about whether they can get another $500 million. They bought the club on debt. They can walk away with £700 million each, and they're holding out to try and get another $100 million each. It's disgusting. The money they've made out of this club is ridiculous. And yet they still want to make more, and they do not care about messing up next season's plans. And that's what this is about. So, look, there's always layers. There are always layers. And the layer here is we will spend the money. It's when we're going to spend it. And the frustration of Ten Hag is he wants to get on with it now, but he can't get on with it now because the answer from above is, hey, we're sorting a sale out at the moment. And the sale could have been sorted a long time ago. They're just keeping it going to try and get more money. And, you know, if you're struggling to figure out what's going on, know this, Ten Hag wants to buy players now. He can't buy them now because the Glazers are going, no, we're just waiting to see if we can get a bit more money for ourselves. We're not bothered about the club. And that's where we are. It's very, very frustrating. One thing I was told yesterday is expect a Glazer, maybe two, but expect a Glazer at Wembley next week. Probably the ponytail one. He's done the Carabao Cup. He did the Women's FA Cup. There is expected to be a Glazer at Wembley next week. And therefore, that could really impact on when the sale is announced because they're not going to announce the sale before an attendance at the FA Cup final. Now, does that mean that they're waiting until after the FA Cup final to say they're staying because there's no games to protest about? But what I was told yesterday is that a Glazer will be at the final and there's no way that they'll announce the sale before that because they won't want what would be... I mean, imagine next week, we're building up the biggest game in years. The Glazers say they're staying with Sir Jim and then they turn up at Wembley. It God knows what could happen. So all this talk of Friday or tomorrow or today about a sale, I might be wrong, but I don't see how they will announce anything about a sale on the build-up to the FA Cup final when they're going to be at the FA Cup final. This is going to be after the FA Cup final that they announce it. And if they announce they're staying, there's not a lot anyone can do then because there's no matches. The wholesale situation and what the Glazers are doing is not only disrespectful to the fans, also to Ten Hag, but we all know they don't care about us, says Luap. And also, just to spin a positive on that, because it still could be Qatar, I don't think they've made their mind up. I don't think they're waiting for the FA Cup final to be over so they can announce they're staying with Sir Jim. I actually get the feeling they haven't made their mind up either. They're still pushing for more money. So I wouldn't sit there this morning and say, oh, they're going to wait till after the FA Cup final because they're staying with Sir Jim. That could be a reason, but from what I'm hearing, that's not the reason. The reason this is not sorted is because they're still trying to push the price up with both Sir Jim and Al Thani. They're still trying to push it up higher. That's why it's not happened. It might not happen straight after the FA Cup. It might not happen till the end of June. It might not happen till July. Who knows? What was the story that makes you think the Mirror have a contact close to Ten Hag? They are more like a broken clock, says Rory C. Just quite simply, over the last 12 months, the Mirror have had really, from when Ten Hag was appointed, all the way through over the last 12 months, there's a lot of things that the Mirror have reported from sources close to Ten Hag. They've got somebody close to Ten Hag, in my opinion, very, very much so, because ever since Ten Hag came into the club, and even before that, they've been pretty good around Ten Hag and how Ten Hag feels. I'm not saying they've got an inside track into who we're signing or anything like that. It feels like they've got a source very close to Ten Hag. That's my interpretation of it, based on the last 12 months of reporting. So yeah, let's move on from that, but that's where we are with that, and you can understand Ten Hag's frustration, of course. I personally do not think, I don't know, I hope I'm going to be wrong, I don't know what everybody else feels, I personally don't think we'll get any big sale update this week, because I think, but then again, the Glazers are so bloody selfish, they might do it. I actually think it would be irresponsible to do anything about the sale this week, because it's a massive game. It's the FA Cup. We'll be building up to it all week. So I think it would be irresponsible to derail that build-up and have Ten Hag being asked about the sale. But you don't know, but I don't expect anything now. To treat the fans like mushrooms is disrespectful, but do that to Ten Hag is beyond a joke. Glazers out, says Lee. And this is, look, there's many reasons why I don't want the Glazers to stay, but they are literally the owners right now, and their selfishness and greed is damaging our plans for next season. If they stay, I don't care whether they've got 5%. If they stay, they've still got a foot in the door. That negative toxicity and greed will still be in the door. You know, I would implore Sir Jim, if you are going to win, do a deal to get rid of them. Don't keep them. Please don't keep them. Just, if you want this club that bad and you think you can do a job, God, give yourself a fair chance. Get rid of the Glazers completely. Don't do a deal with them. They are so toxic. They are so greedy. They are so damaging to this football club. Don't do a deal to keep them. Don't do it, because nobody wants them here anymore. Let's enjoy the day. We have a cup in the bag and top four, and also another final which we will win. Looking forward to see you in Vicar Street. I've got my ticket, says Des. Yeah, if you want to get your tickets, can't wait for that. June the 6th, links in the live chat. It's going to be a great night. Looking forward to it, Des. Don't forget to check your emails so you can answer the questions for that show. I've got Ricky joining me on stage for that bit, actually, where we're going to do the season awards. He'll give his, I'll give mine, and we'll give out what you voted. So it's going to be good. Got some giveaways as well. CGI Future says, I get a feeling we will panic when we realise Kane is not coming and alternatives are going to other clubs. Let's move on to a bit of transfer news, because obviously we've spoken to Declan Rice. We want Harry Kane. We've spoken to Mason Mount. We want Kim Min-jae. There's 4 players there that United can get, but it could be hindered by having the funds to do it, because the sale might, drag on longer and impact these sales. As I say, I'm not going to be the prophet of doom in every sense, because I get that Ten Hag has got the handbrake on. He can't really proceed with his plans. But on the other hand, I'm telling you, we will spend over £200 million this summer. It's just when we spend it and what we miss out on. I mean, look, it's almost the level of football fan, isn't it? Some people watch football at a very basic level, and I don't mean that offensively. They'll watch United once a week and they won't watch anything else. They don't do the United stand. They don't, read the papers. They just watch the game and that's it, and then they're off doing whatever they want. Some people, every minute of every day, are thinking about it, and I think this is what we're going on about here. some people won't understand when you say, well, we will spend £200 million, but Ten Hag's frustrated, because they'll go, well, what's the problem? Well, the problem is Chelsea. Last year, Chelsea couldn't join the transfer window until July because they didn't get the sale done until then. By the time they came into the transfer window and they did spend over £200 million, they're overpaying for people like Koulibaly and everybody else, because that's what's left. Cucurella, Fofana. You know, they spent £80 million on Fofana and £50 million on Cucurella. And that's because they came into the market late and the prices go up. We will spend the money. We just might have to. We might end up being late into that market. Score prediction for today, Blue. I can't remember what I went with. I think I went 2-1 to United. But I'll tell you this. I've said it on Twitter. Final day, we will have all the other games on as well. Flash score and live score and One Football and all those. We'll have all that on, so don't worry, we'll have every goal for you, but we will be featuring the United game. But I'll have a few screens up, of course. What I will say is that there'll be one game today where there's 5 goals. There always is on final day. I can't see another top club going for Kane this summer, so United shouldn't be held to ransom. Rob Carroll, the vegan, says my red. Thank you very much for that, mates. Whiteside has just gifted a membership as well. Hi, Mark. Great content. I hope you're well and can't wait to hear the news that those gremlins have gone, says JP. Thank you very much there. So, on to transfer news. Gareth Southgate's been speaking about Harry Kane. Now, this is where I switch off and turn my eyes away because I've got no interest in what he's got to say. I think what he knows about football, you can write on the back of a stamp. And the reality is he's come out and said that Harry Kane could play till he's 40 and he could be a Teddy Sheringham because he's not reliant on pace. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the context of the article, to be honest with you, but I don't know what he's on about that Gareth Southgate could play, Harry Kane could play. It feels like we'll have Gareth Southgate as manager of England for 40 years, but yeah, I don't know what he's on about. Harry Kane can play till he's 40. He's not even, I think he's 30 this summer. Harry Kane has had a good couple of years in relation to injuries, but before that he used to pick up a couple of injuries a year, so he sorted himself out body wise, I'd admit that, but it's a big ask to say that he's going to play another 5 years at that level, let alone another 10. Yeah, I don't look at Harry Kane and think he'll be playing at the top level at 36. I think he's quite heavy footed the way he runs. He's quite well built as well, which is a lot of impact on his body. I think when you look at players that have played beyond 35, they're a specific type of player. I mean, Zlatan is probably the only big player I can think of, but he's like martial arts and everything, isn't he? His body's a temple. Ronaldo's another one. And then you get the Messis of this world who are the small agile players who don't really look any different than they did at 25. But I'm not here to talk about whether Harry Kane will play at 40. The reality is, will Manchester United be able to get hold of him? I've always said if we do get hold of him, he does guarantee you a lot of goals. He is world class. The question is here, should we be waiting all summer to buy Harry Kane? And that honest answer is no. And the feeling is that that's what Spurs will want to happen. So, look, I think we've got to be looking at alternatives. I really do. But I certainly am not going to listen to Southgate and go, well, if we spend £100 million, it's almost justifying spending £100 million on a player with 1 year left on his contract who's 30 because he might play for 10 years. I don't see that. I don't see that. And look, even Benzema's a different player at his age now than he was 3 years ago. There's always Ronaldo is nowhere near the player he was at 34 to what he is now. Zlatan is not the same player he was at 35. There is always a deterioration for these players. It's just, they're so good that they still offer something. But I'm not looking at about whether Harry Kane's at United at 36. If we can get 4 good years out of him, I'd admit that's good. I'm more thinking about whether Harry Kane will still be the same. In fairness, if we sign Harry Kane and he can do what he's doing now till 35, I'll be over the moon. That's my concern. I don't know whether he's going to fall off a cliff at 31. I don't know, and nobody knows. Nobody knows that. So that I thought that was quite interesting. I've just got to bring this in here before I talk about Maguire and Mount and Ahmad. I don't know whether any saw Wayne Rooney's done an article I think in the Times, and he said that I predicted that Man City would wipe the floor with Real Madrid, and I was right. And then predicting that it'll be a much tighter game between Man United and Man City. I think it might go to extra time and Man United will win. And then he goes on to say, I'd play a 4-4-2. I'd want my back 8 to never be far away from each other, because then it makes hard for Man City to play through. And he had a midfield 4 of, I think, Bruno on one wing, Fred on the other, Casemiro and McTominay or Eriksen, and a front 2 of Martial and Rashford in a 4-4-2. Why do you think? Why you think would Spurs wait for the end of the summer, says Sean? Because that's just what Spurs do. It's what Daniel Levy does. What's Rooney cooking? You know what? In some ways, he's been ridiculed, but in other ways, I think because he's used the words 4-4-2, it will get ridiculed, and because he's put Eriksen next to Casemiro in a 4-4-2, it'll get ridiculed, and because he's got Bruno and Fred on the wings, it'll get ridiculed. I actually can see what he's trying to do. I wouldn't go anywhere near it. What he's trying to do is have a back 8 that's really compact, and then a front 2 that's really quick. I actually, you know, I think some people will say, oh, this is why he's managing DC, you know, he's a prat and all that. But it isn't as silly as people think it is. A back 8, you know, playing, I think he even says it in the article, no further than 6 metres apart. That, and then two players playing on their centre backs, you're basically going to play You're basically going to play counter-attack football with a very close-knit back 8. They'd have to be ridiculously well drilled. You're basically pulling your players in, keeping them compact. Your wingers are basically supplementary midfielders. Everybody plays really compact, but then you've got 2 on the break. So I can see it, and I think it could work. Otamendi says, is that not Ollie ball? Well, I don't think Ollie played with the front 2, if I remember right. He didn't play with the front 2. So I'm not going to sit here and take the piss out of Rooney on that, because I think I can see exactly what he's trying to do. And if it worked, it would be genius. We won't do it. And we probably shouldn't do it, because if it goes wrong, where do you go? You've got to make a few subs to become an attacking team again. But look, it shows the importance of the game, and it shows the quality of Man City, that those sort of tactics and formations are being spoken by legends of the club. What would I do that? No. I mean, look, I'm not here to preview the FA Cup final, but very, very quickly, I don't think you should say I wouldn't do that and then not offer up an alternative. To me, I would use Delo at left back, Wan-Bissaka at right back, and I would play Luke Shaw and Luke Shaw and Varane to deal with Haaland. You've got to get your midfield right. It would be Casemiro, Fred, and Bruno for me, because you get more energy in there. I would play Rashford off the. I might actually play Rashford up front, to be honest. I need my wingers. It's such a shame Anthony's not available. I need my wingers to work hard defensively. They cannot. When we were at the Etihad at the start of the season, our wingers, I think it was Anthony and Rashford, let us down big time. They've got to work hard. They've got to work hard. I don't even know if it's not a bad idea to put Malacia at left wing. It's almost like that. They've got to work hard, the wingers. They cannot just stay up the pitch. The front 3 is going to be his hardest problem. I can build the midfield 3, and Eriksen can't be in it. But the front 3, you need a player on their last man who's quick. And it might have to be Rashford. But then the 2 wide players have got to work their socks off. And does that fit Rashford, Sancho, Martial? I don't think it does. So I think that's where the game's won and lost. Anyway, let's move on. So I saw something just before I came live that there's a number of Italian clubs looking at Harry Maguire. Now, the renaissance of centre-backs in Italy has been pretty decent. Chris Smalling did it. Tomori did it. There's somebody else, and I can't think of who it is, who went to Italy and did quite well. I think the fact that, and I forget where I read it, which is really bad of me, which is why I didn't do it before the Rooney thing, because I was hoping my mind would spark. There will be interest in Harry Maguire, and I think Harry Maguire would suit Italian football very, very well. The issue is, I don't think Italian football can afford to pay 200 grand a week to a defender. In fact, I don't know who will pay that, and I think that's going to be a big stumbling block for anybody. I think the fact that he's in the England squad and will play for England might play into our hands, actually. I know some people, I couldn't believe Southgate picked him, but I instantly thought, well, if we're trying to sell him, it's better for us that he's not been dropped by the England squad and he's still playing. You know, he's still an ongoing England centre-back. So it benefits him when looking for a move, if he's looking for a move. I don't think Maguire would move to Italy. There's a lot of England players that won't go abroad. And this has been a problem for the last 20 years. Some of them, most of them, do not want to move abroad. And you could say, well, it's the whole, it's hard to get chips abroad and stuff like that. But it almost is that mentality. There's not many English players that want to go and play abroad. They don't want to miss home comforts and that. And I don't know, Maguire doesn't come across as the sort of guy that would want to do that. Although the life is fantastic when you're living over there. Italy's a fantastic place to live. They love their football. I don't think it's a bad move for him. But look, the encouraging thing is that I think there will be interest. But the barrier will be, does Maguire want to go? I think he has to. Otherwise, he's going to lose his England squad place next season. And can we find somebody willing to pay the wages? I'm not the devil, it's only a question, but was Malcolm Glazer somewhat competent? Seems like it's only since Dumb and Dumber got it that it's falling apart, says Dan. No, Malcolm Glazer wasn't competent, Dan. He was a bloody parasite who bought the club on debt and slowly decayed it. The problem is that sometimes, if you're hitting a wall, a concrete wall with a knife, the first few times that you hit it, you won't really see the damage, but over the years, it will start to make an indentation. Malcolm Glazer started the rot. It just took time for that rot to come through. He wasn't any better than his sons. And also, we had Sir Alex Ferguson, who probably, defied logic, winning titles under that regime. Ten Hag's worst mistake is to go head-on with Pep like Arteta has done this season. We will need to be way more defensive, says CGI. What a perfect Sunday. Just... Okay, Beryl, okay. You can read Beryl's thing there. She's looking forward to the match. And hi, Mark. Hope you're well. Love the content, says Ahmad. Thank you very much for that. Moving swiftly on. I saw something this morning about Ahmad. Wouldn't mind going back to Sunderland if Tony Mowbray stays there, who is meant to be getting sacked. So I think that I'd be disappointed. Maguire should play in Greece, says Adam. I'd be disappointed if Ahmad went back to Sunderland on many levels. I think, one, we all want him to be given a chance at United anyway, which he will be given. But two, even if he was going to go on loan, and Beryl's getting a lot of support. I think there's a lot of people who really want Ahmad to be given a chance, myself included. But if he was going to go on loan next season, it shouldn't be back into the Championship anyway. He would have to go on loan in the Premier League. So I thought it was a bit of a weird story that Ahmad would consider going back to Sunderland if Tony Mowbray was there, because nobody wants that to happen. And, the Championship is not really his level now. He's got to be looking to play in the Premier League. So I thought that was a bit of a weird one. There was something else as well. I've completely forgotten what it was. I think it was about Mason Mount, wasn't it? Yeah, Mason Mount, very much Man United's number one target at the moment. I wouldn't say he's the priority in the sense that the striker is the priority, but he is the deal that United are working most actively on at the moment, because obviously Mason Mount didn't get called up for the England squad. So he's got... Sean says he's just lying here with Beryl smoking a cigarette, looking forward to the match. Well, there you go. I think with Mason Mount, he didn't get called up for England, so therefore you have this situation whereby he will want to get his future sorted before he goes on his holidays, won't he? So I think that's what will happen. That Mason Mount thing will probably get sorted out quite quickly, won't it, really? Because he'll either stay at Chelsea or he'll come to Manchester United. And yeah, somebody just said there he might go to Liverpool. We'll see. Anyway, what about Declan Rice? Well, Declan Rice has got a cup final to play. He's also going to be in the England squad in June, so I can see that Declan Rice deal probably taking a little bit longer. Same with Harry Kane. But that's where we are. Right. Thank you everybody for watching. We've got a watch along today, so it was nice to do a bonus morning show. I hope you got something out of it. Thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like. Don't forget you can still get your tickets for the Dublin show live on June the 6th. Links in the live chat and the video description. And I will see you at, I will see you, but I can't remember what time the kick. Is it 4:30? Is everybody kicking off at 4:30, or is it 4 o'clock? Let me have a quick look. I think it's 4:30. Yeah, it's 4:30. So we'll be live for 3:30. 3:30 today, we'll be live for final day of the Premier League. So I'll speak to you all then. Make sure you smash a like and subscribe on your way out. See you all later. It's going to be eventful. Thanks for watching.